Hi YouTube, thanks for joining me. Thanks for checking out the new Astro Truth channel as well. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. It's brand new. These are exactly the same things that I was doing on the Twig brother channel. I just want to have a special channel for astrology and spiritual topics where I can talk about things without kind of the woodwork community getting involved and things like that. Because there is no point telling these things to people who don't want to hear them. That is a fact. Anyway, right, good morning, afternoon, evening or night, wherever you are in the world. I'm Andy, I'm in West Wales, United Kingdom. It's 9:28 AM and this is my astrological birth chart for the day. A snapshot of the heavens, if you will, as we go into Sunday, the 28th of January 2018. The moon is going to enter Cancer this evening at 3 minutes to 7. She's actually going to go void, of course, at 10:38 AM, just over an hour from now. And so in a void of course period, it's very difficult to call the shots, not just for astrologers, for absolutely anybody. It's a real good time for getting on with things that aren't going to attract any new action, that aren't going to bring any sudden shocking changes into your life. Not that there's any sort of negative energy built up behind any of this, but it's a time when your own negatives could possibly, cause you a problem if you're trying to push forward too quickly. But as we actually go into the day, the moon is still in Gemini for another hour or so, so I'm going to give it out. She is 85.6% full at this moment, building up to full moon coming in on the 31st, Wednesday the 31st of January in UK at 1:26 in the afternoon, 13:26 UTC. So the energy is really building up towards that full moon now. There's much energy behind wanting to do things, wanting to start things, the things you initiated earlier on with your New Year's resolution when we had the supermoon on the 2nd of January. We've come full through the cycle again. There's actually going to be a second full moon in January. Now, the last one was the wolf moon and was a supermoon. This one is not going to be small by any means at all, and this one's called the old moon. The original meaning of that, let's have a drink of tea, by the way. Cheers. Oh, great. On a Sunday morning, what more could you want? They called it the old moon because it came up, well, it comes up at this time of year. It's always come up at this time of year. That is the point. But by the time the next moon cycle had happened, a lot of the older people who would be coming infirm and for whom perhaps, sometimes you ask for the highest good, the best outcome for someone when things are beginning to look hopeless. Well, people who'd reached that point in their life would quite often be taken just as the weather started to warm up for some reason. And that is a very true human thing. I worked in the funeral industry for many years, and we would get really quite busy around early March. So this old moon comes, but that sounds very sad and unhappy. It's only about the positive side of the healing thing, where you ask for the highest, best good to happen to people, But in general everyday life, you could also look at it in that way. They have the death card in tarot, but it's just a kind of a new start. It doesn't mean anybody's going to die. That's where I'm going in my head with the old moon, which is coming up on Wednesday. Should be an interesting time, and it's a real good time for having the thought in your mind, the energetic balance, if you will, pushing that towards taking obstacles out of the way, removing things rather than bringing in new energy, so that all the things we've started earlier in the month can go on unfettered by any obstacles that might have come around us since then. So it's still very positive. It's just not positive so much in the sense of getting things done after full moon. It's in the waning cycle when it becomes positive by taking obstacles away, generally easing things up and I hope making life better. So that is full moon coming up on the 31st of January 13:26 UTC. I'm going on about it today, Sunday, because it's a weekend and more people watch the astrology. So if you're not around on Wednesday, I've already told you. There you go. So the moon is actually going to be void in Capricorn all day. As I say, sextile Uranus right this very minute. So for the next hour or so, people are more easily excited and thrilled. Let's have a look at what's up in space on spaceweather.com. This is where the laws of physics, the actual astronomy, the truth of where the planets are moving and what's happening actually meet up with the astrological theories, yeah? and I'm sure they're actually going to be the same science one day when we get to the bottom of it. The solar wind speed at the moment, 355.9 kilometers per second, 7.8 protons a cubic centimetre the density. That is slow solar wind, and it's kind of reasonable. It's okay on the proton density. That isn't terribly thick. The sun right now is leaking solar wind from a peppering of small coronal holes. There's been a huge coronal hole. Now there's a lot of small ones. They thought these coronal holes were going to be too small to cause any real action, but, well, they are in themselves, but there are so many of these tiny coronal holes pumping out little bits of solar wind that it amounts to quite a lot of solar wind. So we are expecting some geomagnetic effects. It's a breeze, basically, of electrified plasma. It can affect electronics, it can affect communications, it can affect the grey matter of the brain as well. So it's worth thinking about, and it's also worth knowing if you're a pagan or if you're doing any work to do with the Earth spiritually or physically, because the Earth, the planet, is definitely affected by this in a very subtle but nevertheless very true way when you start looking at it. So geomagnetic unrest is happening at this time and will be for the next day or two at least. But it's no great shakes. They're not actually calling it geomagnetic storms, so nothing at all to worry about there. And quite honestly, if you're going to start worrying about astronomy, I would give it up, to be quite honest, because it shouldn't become a worry. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at all these things. I'm looking at the positives and the negatives, because, you know, that is what life is like, yin and yang, and I'm looking at ways of carrying myself forward, and I hope I'm encouraging you to be forward looking as well, because we do have Neptune in the mix at the moment. Let's take a closer look at that. In the biodynamic cycle, by the way, it's going to be a leaf day tomorrow. Just for the remains of today, it's a flower day. Okay. So where are we? January the 28th, Mercury in Capricorn square Uranus in Aries. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, the ruling planet of Gemini and Virgo. Very mercurial. Communication can be very, very odd, but this is the point. Messages from the gods are made of superhuman knowledge, and it takes us quite a long time to let that knowledge trickle in, assimilate it, learn all the wacky lessons that go with it, and then move forward on our path. But that's Mercury for you. And Mercury in Capricorn, all that sure-footed, not really angry, but, you know, the energy of really wanting things to be right and really wanting a bit of insurance to make sure that things continue to be all right. That's all getting mixed up with the Mercury energy, and that whole thing is squaring Uranus in Aries. So Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, about forward-lookingness, about originality, about manifestation, about making new things happen, going forward with your goals, basically. It's always about going forward with your goals. And that comes up against Aries, which is always wanting everything to be perfectly legitimate, to dot all the I's, to cross all the T's, everything to be just right. The goody two-shoes Aries thing gets involved with it. So it's a real mixture of emotions there, a real mixture of possibly of physical happenings in the real world as well, because all this does actually tie into what's going on. The planetary movements are real. The astrological interpretations, well, they're just mine, but they're based on things that I've read, and I'm constantly trying to find new knowledge about this as well. And it's all based on stuff that goes back thousands of years. It's just not allowed to be called science because certain things have not been proved. But if you start following astrology, these things will prove themselves to you. They are good like that. Next big news, January the 31st, as I say, the full moon, the old moon, that's going to be in Leo, and there's going to be a total lunar eclipse with that as well. Also on the 31st, Mercury enters Aquarius. So you've got the original thinking thing of Mercury and the messenger of the gods thing, getting involved with Aquarius, and basically rules are meant to be broken. That's the way that's going. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. That's just about it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like if you like, share me around if you can, and all being well, I'll be here back with you tomorrow with the same thing again, only with all new information, because things will have changed. They're always changing. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.